All right, hello and greetings, my friend. Welcome back to the next episode here, the Red Delta Project podcast and live feed Q&A. I'm Matt Schifferly with another video to help you be fit and live free. In today's episode, we're addressing a common idea within our dietary culture for those who are particularly looking to eat healthier or manage one's weight that sounds enticing and makes a lot of sense up front, like a lot of these ideas, but can actually be grossly misleading and lead you down some fairly dark pathways. And this is an idea that I long had myself and followed. And it seems like one of those things that makes sense at the time, and it can only be positive. But in practical application, it often falls short. And this idea is the notion that you should, quote, earn your carbs or earn your calories. Basically, the idea is that you should make sure that you get in your workout or you do enough exercise or take enough steps in the day, whatever the way you earn your ability to indulge or allow yourself to eat or have your carbohydrates or whatever. And like many dogmatic rules out there, it's very enticing because there's a lot of ideas out there of like, oh, you shouldn't eat too many calories, or you shouldn't eat too much sugar or carbs or whatever. And so suddenly this idea that comes about saying like, no, 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 you can have these things and you can have them, quote, guilt-free as long as you pay a penance for them, right? A very puritanical idea. Like you earn the ability to indulge in them guilt-free. So that way, after you've done your workout or you've gone for a long run or you've done fasting the day before, whatever that is, then you can say, great, now I can enjoy myself and I don't have to feel guilty or anxious about this food. And so, like a lot of dietary ideas, it's enticing because it kind of lets you off the hook. It kind of gives you that free reign, which is one of the many problems with it. And it's also very problematic because it's often just terribly misleading. But let's deconstruct a little bit more into the weeds on why this is not only completely unnecessary, but it can actually be something that leads you down dark rabbit holes that actually make it harder to manage your weight and harder to manage a healthy diet. And the first idea with this is that you don't need to earn anything, okay? You don't have to earn your calories. You don't have to earn your carbohydrates. You don't have to do anything special in order for your body to be able to consume calories or carbs or sugar or an indulgence in a healthy way. And this goes back to the fundamental nature of fitness is the fact that you are always burning carbs, calories, and sugar just by being alive. It's always important to recognize that physical activity and exercise doesn't do anything unique or special. When we go out for a run or we exercise and we do something, we're simply taking that physiological process of caloric expenditure and you're just speeding it up. You're not starting to burn fat or calories. You're not starting anything. You're not making your body do something unique when you do an exercise. You're just simply saying, okay, you know all that stuff you're always doing 24/7 body? Yeah, I need it to happen a little bit faster in order for me to go for this run or to do the thing. And so that's the first reason why this is faulty, is because this idea of like, well, I didn't go for a run today, or I haven't been exercising, or I didn't do 10,000 steps or whatever. Therefore, my body doesn't have the ability to consume or ingest that pizza or this ice cream or these carbs in a healthy way. That's completely false because you're naturally burning calories, carbs, and sugar anyway. So consuming those things within a reasonable amount is healthy on autopilot. You don't need to do anything in order to make yourself healthy in consuming it because you're already there anyway to at least some degree. Now, granted, you could be there to a higher degree if you do more exercise, but that leads me into problem number two, is that it often is misleading about how much calories or carbs or sugar and stuff that you burn with exercise. And this is because we can't really tell what we're actually burning through exercise, but you certainly can feel a great degree of effort that you're investing in the activity. So if you, for example, go out and do hill sprints, that can be a very effort intenseful activity. You're burning a lot of energy. It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of attention and a lot of effort on your part. And usually we correlate high effort with high effect. However, a lot of times high effort doesn't necessarily mean it has much influence on the actual process that governs your results. It is most certainly possible, and in many cases, even probable, for you to put in a lot of effort towards an activity, but actually have a relatively small influence on the physiological processes that are actually governing your results. And the ability to burn off calories and carbs and sugar and things like that is a great example of this. Because even though I may run for a 5K or do hill sprints or really subject myself to like fasted cardio, which even feels even harder, it's a lot of effort. So it feels like it's doing a lot. But when you really boil it down to, okay, how much influence does 20 minutes of cardio or some hill sprints or something have on the fundamental process of caloric balance, namely caloric expenditure, the actual influence is relatively small. Now, I'm not saying, of course, one of these people is like, you can't outtrain a bad diet and burning calories is negligible when you exercise. It is certainly an influence. And especially if you're doing an activity that is relatively long in time, it can be a notable influence. Absolutely. I'm just saying that it's usually not that much of an influence for the amount of effort that you put in. So what ends up happening a lot with the earn your carbs or earn your calories mentality is that you feel yourself putting in a lot of effort. Therefore, you feel like you've earned a lot and you overindulge. You did the cardio and you did the activity, you paid your penance, which actually really didn't do all that much. And now you start to think, okay, now I can eat an entire large pizza, or I can eat ice cream and junk food all weekend long, kind of like Thanksgiving. You would go and you work out Thanksgiving morning, very big tradition. I enjoy it myself. And you think, okay, now I can really indulge Thanksgiving. It's not even going to come close. Well, no matter what you did in that workout on Thanksgiving, you burned a few hundred extra calories and you're going to consume a couple thousand extra calories during dinner. So you feel like you did a lot, but you really didn't, which leads to overindulgence. And then the third point that I wanted to bring up is this idea of like, you have to be worthy of these things. This is why a lot of times dietary culture preys on our self-esteem and our self-worthiness of our actions, feeling like I don't deserve to be happy or healthy and stuff. Therefore, if I pay enough penance, therefore I will be worthy of it. And I can then allow myself to be successful. But remember that the foundation of a healthy diet is eat to satisfy. The point of a healthy diet is to satisfy your appetites simply because you're there and alive. You don't have to earn an indulgence. You don't have to earn the ability to consume calories and carbs and all these sorts of things. You earn those things simply because you are alive, my friend. Eating is an act of respect for your body, a source of love and appreciation for your body. That's what a healthy diet is based off of. And when you tell yourself, I can't eat enough, or I can't have breakfast, or I can't eat carbs, or a certain amount of carbs, or even go out for ice cream unless I pay a penance for it, that is going in the complete opposite direction of a healthy diet. You're not respecting your body that way. You're not being respectful of your natural appetites. You're not being very respectful of what your body naturally needs. Now, I'll fully admit, that the idea of indulging after activity is more satisfying. For me, what beer always tastes better after a good day of skiing or mountain biking. A buddy of mine, we love going to Golden City Brewery in Golden after a mountain bike ride because it is more enjoyable to relax, be like, oh man, that was a great bike ride. And then you tip back a couple IPAs and stuff versus just sitting on the couch and watching football. So there's definitely something to, putting in some effort first and then relaxing and indulging after. I totally get that. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is saying, okay, in order for you to have satisfaction and enjoyment from your diet, you have to earn it. You have to be worthy of it. And that is not a healthy attitude, my friends. That is not something that is showing you respect or eating from a source of love and appreciation. Instead, you want to think, okay, what do I need to do? Of course, as I approach in all my books, the ability to satisfy your fundamental appetites that you naturally have because you're alive, and then you enjoy food in the way to satisfy those appetites, regardless of whether or not you've worked out, regardless of whether or not you've fasted or you did something beforehand. You don't have to earn your ability to be happy and satisfied in life. You have that ability just because you're alive, because you deserve it, because you want to be healthy. That is how a diet becomes healthy, is you're satisfying your fundamental appetites. When you recognize that, you know, I don't have to work out for an hour and a half in order to go out for ice cream. I don't have to go for a mountain bike ride in order to enjoy a beer afterwards. I mean, I enjoy a beer after mountain biking, or not. It's fine. But you don't have to earn it. Not only is it grossly misleading about what you actually just did, but it sets up a very kind of dysfunctional attitude towards these so-called indulgences. All right, my friends, I'm playing with a new setup today. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of this sort of thing. But unfortunately, I got real low battery going on here. I hit live stream and it was like battery 9%. And I was like, ah, cripe. So unfortunately, I can't do this very much. But let's see if I can get to questions. Gromit is the first question. Are you answering questions? Yes, I will answer questions until my battery level gets to about 2%, and I got to close it down. So come at me, bro. Let's go. Let's go with the questions here. Boudique is saying, you're the greatest coach of all time. Wish you the best. Thank you very much, Boudique. Much appreciated for the props. Gromit saying, so fun to be really hungry after training. Food tastes even better. That's a good point too. They say hunger is the best spice, but you got to be a little bit careful with that sort of thing. Last weekend, I went I went road biking with a good buddy of mine. And right when I started off, I was kind of thinking in my head, I was like, oh crap. Like the day before, I was out at a music festival and I was just running around and stuff. I'm like, I don't think I hardly ate anything all yesterday. And then I woke up and I was anxious and stressed about some things going on in my personal life and stuff. So I literally didn't feel like I could stomach food. So I literally went out on this bike ride with nothing in the tank. And it was real bad. I had a really bad bonk. And when you're hypoglycemic, that's different than being hungry. I mean, I was extremely fatigued and exhausted, foggy mind, even though it was 85 degrees, like my skin was cold and clammy. I was kind of shaking and stuff. So it's good to work up an appetite, but just be careful, my friends, that you don't bonk when you're out there. All right. Boudique is saying, what are your recommendations for a very tall guy, hard gainer with stomach problems while sticking to training will give results? Even the diet sucks. So you got to work around what's causing the stomach issues first and foremost, my friend. Do you have a food sensitivity, perhaps? Is it a pattern in your diet? Like some people I know, they're just like, I just can't eat in the morning. If I eat in the morning, I'm not going to feel very good. Okay, maybe then you eat later in the day, or maybe you eat after your workout. You work out without eating beforehand, or maybe it's the other way around where you have to eat a little something before. It's going to take some experimentation, but you want to feel good through your diet. You want to make sure that you are fueling your body adequately. And a lot of times these sorts of issues come about because you're following some sort of cockamamie arbitrary rule. I'm not saying you are, but a lot of times I run into this where people will be like, oh man, I just get so tired when I'm running and stuff. But this low carb diet thing, I'm like, why are you eating that diet? You should be eating more carbs. Remember that a lot of dietary rules out there telling you what you should eat and how you should eat are very arbitrary. They're based most of the time on complete guesswork and estimations of what people assume. And so what you want to do is experiment with your diet. What are you eating? When are you eating and stuff, and go off of that. It doesn't matter if there's 1,000 experts out there with 1,000 articles of research saying you shouldn't eat pretzels or whatever, right? But if you're like, damn, I feel better when I eat pretzels, well, you listen to your experience, not what the thousands of experts are saying kind of stuff. You got to feel good. That's the bottom line, my friends. Diet and exercise habits are supposed to make you feel good. Got a couple of friends who are jumping back into fitness after a long hiatus right now. And they're like, I don't know what to do. I got to catch up. I got all this stuff going on. I'm like, bottom line, I want you to eat and I want you to train however is just going to make you feel good. If that's bench press and curls for a solid week and a half, go for it. If that means eating sandwiches and French fries, then sure, fine, whatever. Just get to a place where you're feeling physiologically, mentally, and at least emotionally to some degree, good about what you're doing. Because it's real hard to build a positive result when you're coming from a negative place. If your diet makes you feel like crap physically, mentally, and emotionally, it's a unhealthy diet. And good luck getting results with that sort of thing. So get to a good place where you feel okay from it, and then you can tweak and adjust and progress from there. Angelo is asking, this is a common question I get a lot. Can I get a good physique only doing push-ups, rows, and jump rope for legs and cardio? Trying to simplify things. Absolutely. However, a couple things don't neglect. Second of all, jump rope's not going to be enough for your legs. Definitely need to get some lunges or some squats, variation, and so forth. Second of all is make sure you understand your progressive nature of calisthenics, right? My book down below in the link. People get stuck on, they're like, I want to simplify training, but they don't have progressive resistance to it. So it's like using the same 35-pound kettlebell all the time. You're only going to go so far and you're going to plateau quickly. So make sure you understand progressive calisthenics theory, because yes, rows, push-ups, absolutely. You can focus on those 99% of the time and build a great upper body. But you've got to understand those progressions and you've got to understand proper programming. You can't just endlessly do exercises until you're exhausted all the time. Cross your fingers and just hope it's magically somehow going to be the thing that you need to do. And definitely get some proper strength training in there. Jump rope, good for the cardio, but remember that cardio, like strength training, is specific to your adaptations. Like I can jump rope for 20 minutes and still be really bad as a runner, right? So make sure that when you're getting your cardio, getting your heart rate up and stuff, great. But if you're like, I want cardio to be able to run a marathon or to last well in a sparring match, do cardio that is related to that very thing. Oh, good one here. Shamir Thomas, what are your top tips for good mental well-being? Fantastic question. May have to ruminate on that one for a while, but first and foremost, don't abuse your body or your mind or your life. Okay, don't be so negative. Treat yourself with love and respect. That's first and foremost, and that's what I was talking about earlier, about how a lot of times we use diet as a way to almost self-punish, but it should be completely the opposite. You should be eating as a way to self-love yourself. Number two is trust yourself. Trust yourself, trust your instincts, trust your experience, because a lot of times people are like, not feeling so good about this, but they still follow the program or whatever, much to their detriment. Number three is social connections. Okay, be very aware of negativity you have towards other people. The more negative you are to other people, the more negative you're going to be towards yourself and vice versa. So you see some people, you get around them and it's like all they have to say are negative things about so-and-so. Like, look at that person's shoes. And can you believe Mary said this? And blah, 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 blah. It's all negative stuff. Love people. Be interested in people. Go to a party and just talk to people, say like a research thing, like I want to know what do you think about this? Like I was contemplating the other day buying a frisbee, like an old Seinfeld gag. I want to buy a frisbee. When was the last time you threw a frisbee? Kind of thing. Be interested in people. Social connections are key. Number four, don't work too hard, because you're never going to be mentally well off if you're always burning the candle at both ends and doing everything you can. And finally, number five is basically give yourself permission to feel all the things. And if you're upset or you're angry and stuff, don't do it. Don't express yourself in a disadvantaged way, but give yourself permission to be mad, to do these things. Because a lot of times mental well-being is compromised when you hold everything up. Like, I can't complain. I shouldn't complain about things. Yes, you should. You just need to do it in a very healthy way. Excuse me, Joseph Bellows saying, "Hello, Matt. Exercise burns extra calories. Usually have a small smoothie and then milk, yogurt, peanut butter, and chocolate, and a meal shortly after for protein. Gain some muscle, not much fat." Very good. It does burn extra calories, but remember that we often overestimate exactly how much it is. And he follows up, "So what do you think I'm doing right with diet on my workout?" Doing it right. Well, dude, if you're getting result and you're satisfying yourself, you're doing it right. It's that simple. Don't think that it's going to come down to some sort of formulaic approach to diet. If you're feeling good, physically, mentally, and emotionally about food, then you're definitely doing it right. When you feel like you're deprived and your cravings and your hunger and your metabolic support is off and stuff, that's when things are kind of a little bit off the rails there. All right, we got 3%. I got to close this thing up fairly quickly here, but Bo D coming in, last one here. "Matt, if you try one set, one exercise a day, good stimulate and avoid nervous system fatigue, did you get results with it?" I did just that. I made a video on it where I did bridges and handstand work, roughly one set every day for a month. And if you look at what if you did one set of an exercise every day, here are my results. It's on the YouTube channel. You can see what happened. Great for practice, good for getting used to it and stuff. I wouldn't say it was the most satisfying type of approach, especially for like building muscle, because sometimes you just need a little bit more volume for that sort of thing. Plus, a lot of times, when you do one set, a lot of my experience with one set is that you're just getting in the groove at the end of the set, where it's like, okay, I did my one set, and then the muscles are like, okay, now we're ready to go. Now we're warmed up. Now the nervous system is ramped up. Why are we stopping? Remember that when we do our exercise, we have this ramp up period where we're getting into the groove. Then we have something of a peak, or it may be a plateau where we're going at a good heavy pace, and then it starts to decline off the back end. And it can change where that window is depending on numerous factors. But when you limit yourself to this is how many sets I do, one set, two set, or I have to do something, you're basically guessing how much work you need to do on a case by case basis to hit your optimal window. That's why my approach is always, I'm just going to do whatever I can with my energy, and I'm going to keep doing it as much as I want, as long as I'm feeling good and strong with the exercise. And then once I start to get fatigued or feel like it's going downhill, then I'm going to stop. But yeah, the idea of doing something on a daily basis, on a regular basis, is a good idea. But you can usually do a little bit more than you think. Joseph saying, are you doing one tomorrow? That's one of the reasons I'm doing this now, is because I've got a really busy schedule tomorrow with work and stuff, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get to a podcast tomorrow. Last weekend was an absolute, cluster, and this whole week has been all kinds of all over the place for me, and not in a good way. It's been a really hard trying week. So I didn't have a podcast before with that sort of thing. So apologies, folks, but sometimes life just gets in the way. Last one here, real quick, before I've got to charge things. Neil saying, excuse me, sorry, why can't this work? This is weird. My thing is not working. There we go. Neil Marvin saying, "Matt, how does working out consistently help relieve stress and depression? I'm working out for a decade now, and someone just asked me the same question, but can't seem to give a detailed answer." It boils down to energy, Neil. It's pure and simple. Okay, when our body is extremely complicated in being able to regulate energy balance. Not just physiological energy, but emotional energy and stuff. So if we don't have an outlet for energy, in a physical sense, this is when we have a lot of stressor and inflammation factors come into play. You're there sitting on the couch watching football and you're all anxious about the game, or you're watching the news and stuff, and you're like, "Argh." You got all this energy building up. You're like a volcano, and it's just bubbling to the surface, but there's no outlet for it. It's just building up, building up, building up, and you're holding on to it. And if you hold on to that stuff too long on a chronic level, it can be very unhealthy. So when we exercise or do any physical activity, we unleash the energy. We're expending energy outwards. And it's a very healthy thing to do. Back in the 70s, they used to do this thing called scream therapy. It was the same thing. You go in the woods and you scream your head off. And it's the same thing. It's expending energy, which helps to maintain that balance. All right, folks, I'm going to maybe jump on here a little bit later once I charge my battery, but I'm literally at 1%. Hopefully, this doesn't end real quick. But thank you so much, everybody, for coming on in. And as always, links down below to the resources that I was mentioning before. And I will talk to you soon yet again. Be fit and live free.